Okay, the next segment is about the cities. The illusion is the film spends a lot of time focusing on how the evidence for biblical cities is linked to the perseverance in the use of biblical names. This persistence of biblical names is contrasted with the absence of Book of Mormon names at Mesoamerican sites. To enforce the idea that those names should be present, the film presents expert Hector Escobedo, identified as a New World archaeologist from Guatemala. He states that because of the advance in epigraphy, we are now able to read the ancient names of most of the sites. The discussion is followed by opinions of William Wilson and Thomas Murphy. Wilson tells us that there is no evidence as far as where Zarahemla is, which is one of the big cities mentioned in the Book of Mormon. Murphy, filmed against the background of the archaeological site of Palenque, explains, "Here we are standing at Palenque today. The buildings that we see in front of us were, in fact, constructed several centuries after the events described in the Book of Mormon. So this could not possibly have been a Nephite city. The impression is that since no sites bear a Book of Mormon names, they cannot be Book of Mormon sites. This impression is bolstered by the idea that sites like Palenque postdate the Book of Mormon, unmasking this claim. Most of Escobedo's statements is accurate. The advances in epigraphy have yielded the ancient names of some of the sites. The difference is that he uses the word most, which is certainly an exaggeration. I do not impute any deception to Escobedo. I do not now know the context in which he said most or whether he would willingly alter that word if he had the opportunity. The fact is that names have been identified for some sites. The first problem with Escobedo's unfortunate choice of word most is that the original name can only be determined when texts are extant, and texts in stone tend to relate only to the classic period, which covers the time from AD 250 to 800. For the greatest part of Book of Mormon history, we cannot identify the original names of sites because no texts remain to tell us the names, unlike the Old World, in which the persistence of place names has been recently demonstrated. Such a continuation of place names did not happen in the New World. The name Zarahemla may not have survived for the same reason, that all but a handful of ancient names have not survived. Original names were lost, and in most cases were replaced by the names the Aztecs used to refer to the locations, not what the natives of the area used earlier. The second problem with the use of the most is that there are really fairly limited number of known city names. The names of cities are read from cliff called an emblem cliff, which has long been recognized as the identifier of a particular city. Peter Matthews wrote the seminal article on the analysis of these emblem cliffs. He lists 35 emblem cliffs for known sites and 3 more that refer to sites that have not yet been identified. Of the thousands of archaeological sites in Guatemala alone, 38 can hardly be called most, even if every one of those could be read for the ancient name. Undoubtedly, more have been discovered since Matthew's article, but those fortunate advances will still not yield the effect that the editors have intended, which is to suggest that we know all the city names and that Book of Mormon names are not found among them. The facts are that few names are known, and that those are for the latest part of the Book of Mormon at best, and from areas that are not generally considered to be the part of Nephite territory. The film's comments about Mesoamerican place names are pure illusion. The facts contradict them. What of Wilson's assertion that there is no evidence as far as where Zarahemla is? This statement can only be made by avoiding John L. Sorensen's correlation of the Book of Mormon geography to the Mesoamerican area. Sorensen described the sites of Santa Rosa as plausible candidate for Zarahemla, noting that it is on the correct side of the nearby river, dates to the time at which the Book of Mormon indicates there should be a city in this location, and contains an interesting archaeological feature that might be related to the reign of King Benjamin. Perhaps Wilson is unaware of Sorensen's work. However, how expert How expert is a person who is unfamiliar with the recent scholarship on the subject on which he is expressing an opinion? It is more likely that Wilson is familiar with Sorenson's work. He alludes to one of Sorenson's arguments later when he discusses horses. Probably he is simply indicating that Santa Rosa cannot be proven to be Zarahemla. That is certainly true. However, Wilson's comment does not hint at the serious scholarship he is dismissing. The illusion continues that such scholarship does not exist. Earlier in the film, Murphy made a similar statement about Palengue's late date. The same editing problem occurs again. Whether or not Murphy was a willing accomplice to the deception cannot be known, but certainly this statement is used to imply that no sites relate to the Book of Mormon. Palenque is a beautiful site, and because of this, it has appeared in books that discuss the Book of Mormon. However, no serious Latter-day Saint scholar of the Book of Mormon correlates Palenque with the Book of Mormon for the very reason that Murphy suggests. It is too late. Murphy's statement is correct for Palenque, but deceptive for its implication about the actual time period of the Book of Mormon. Murphy concludes this section with a personal note. What I found in my anthropology classes was that my Christian friend was right, who said that you could walk in places mentioned in the Bible. The Book of Mormon was wrong. I counter with a personal note of my own. I took anthropology classes as well, and unlike Murphy, specialized in Mesoamerican ethnohistory. Though I did not ultimately receive a PhD, that is precisely the kind of class that Murphy suggests told him that the Book of Mormon was wrong. I found no such thing. We were certainly in different classes in different institutions. He in Washington State and I in the State of University of the New York at Albany. But I cannot imagine that the class itself made the difference. What I found was that the tools of ethnohistory were directly applicable to understanding the Book of Mormon against a real-world background.